Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the series of AWS DevOps Unplugged. So, in today's fantastic session, what we are going to cover, we are going to focus upon Amazon Codecatalyst. So, Amazon Codecatalyst comes under the category of Amazon DevTools, where it is the latest kind of service which has been launched, which covers every aspect from the developer perspective, be it collaboration, be it development, be it CI/CD. So many things are combined together. The way we have code pipeline, the same way we have code analyst, a more refined version, and with the better interface. So to understand this, what we are going to do is we are going to have one specialist who is a AWS DevTool hero, that is Johannes. So Johannes is going to join us and he is going to enlighten us with the concept of Amazon Code Catalyst. So he has also given some talks onto Amazon Code Catalyst, and he has actually done some small projects also that he has already been presented. So I thought of having him alive today with us where he can share his expertise about the code catalyst part. So without wasting much time, let's bring in our guest speaker, that is Johannes. Hi Johannes, can you hear us?
Hey, yes, of course I can. Great to see you.
Same here. Glad to have you on board. So how you're feeling on this live show where you're going to talk about Amazon Code Catalyst?
That's pretty fun for me. It's one of the first live sessions that I do, right? So usually I do record it.
Okay.
Let's see how this goes. And please excuse any technical difficulties that I might have. Last time live was on the Game Day World Championship with Gunnar Grosch, like 1.5 years ago. That was a totally different setting, to be honest.
So I think Kunal Khushawa you're talking about?
Now I was talking about Gunnar Krosch. He's from the Amazon Developer Advocates team out of
Oh,
Stockholm, and he is. I had recently had him on my YouTube channel as well, talk about chaos engineering in the CI/CD pipeline. So
mhm.
he's one of the developer advocates specialists that they have from a global team.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Nice to hear that. So I think if it is your first live session, then I am glad that you're starting that on my channel, on my YouTube channel, where you're going live for the first time. I hope
Let,
you will enjoy.
let's see though, and let's see if you ask me to come back one day afterwards, right? So everyone watching out there, please give us feedback afterwards, right? So let us know on how we can both improve our life experiences. That would be really good.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So without wasting much time, let's get started with our concepts that we are going to cover. So guys, today Johannes is going to cover all 360-degree aspect of Amazon Code Catalyst, where he would be talking about what is Amazon Code Catalyst. He will give a basic introduction, what this specific dev tool is famous for, why it has been brought in picture. After that, he will tell you what are the features and benefits. Then he will explain you that how any real world use cases where you can think of using this Amazon Code Catalyst, along with that advantages, disadvantages, and how you can integrate security as part of your Amazon Code Catalyst pipeline, or the kind of work that you're doing over here, along with the collaboration that this tool offers. So let's get started with our first question. So let's start with the basics. So what I would like to ask Johannes is, what exactly is Amazon Code Catalyst and how it empowers developer and organization to innovate with this specific Amazon service?
Yeah, that's a great question to get us started. And please stop me ever if you have a question. Right, I don't feel offended by just being interrupted. So I will otherwise just keep talking, and please do the time watching as well, because I usually don't stop talking until someone stops me. So we're going to kick off with, and I hope that I'm already sharing my screen, with looking at a few slides that I have. Deirdre, can you see my screen already? Because I can't yet see it. There we are. Perfect. Thank you. So let's get ourselves started with hopefully a little bit of a slide deck. So what is Amazon Code Catalyst? If you want to have a closer look on Code Catalyst, you can directly get started by going on codecatalyst.aws. And I have a few slides that kind of walk us through what this tool is and what we use it for. And I'm just going to get started with that. So why am I talking about Codecatalyst with you? Well, I've been using this tool since September last year as a beta opportunity, being part of the community builders at that time. And I had the chance to look at it before everyone else got a look at it. And that was amazing because I really understood why and how the service is being built and what the reasoning behind that is. And although the service is maybe not where we want it to be or where I want it to be, it already covers a lot of things. And that's what brings me to this picture, which essentially shows that, well, I have been using this thing a lot. I've been really working with Codecatalyst. You can see I have at the moment at least 20 projects that I've been running on the tool itself. I've also run multiple real production projects on this tool, so it is already ready to be used in certain scenarios, and I think we can talk about that a little bit as well. So before we go into details on the tool itself, let's have a closer look on what SDLC a software development lifecycle process is for you as developers. Usually you as a developer, you would start with, on the left-hand side, you work in your IDE, you work in your maybe VI or Vim or whatever, right? You write your code. You then put that in a source code repository. After putting it in the source code repository, this piece of code will then run through some SCA or so secret code analysis or static code analysis tools. If you kind of are prepared for that, you would then move over to the build phase where the piece of code that you as a developer just submitted will be built, it will be packaged. Then you usually go to post-build. I'm not going to cover all of the stages because it's kind of going to take some time to explain all of the details, but at the end, you would end with all of your stuff being in the production environment. As you can see today, this is a slide kind of coming out of last year's September, October. You can see various different tools that we have in the AWS ecosystem. On the one side, we see up here AWS Code Pipeline, which is a pipeline engine, the continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, the service that you have on AWS. You also see Code Commit down here, where you can store your source code. You can see Cloud9 on the left-hand side. You can see Code Build for executing specific coding steps. You can see Code Deploy for executing deployments. And all of that stuff is something that now AWS is hopefully going to consolidate one day into one single tool. So all of the green marks that you can see, all of these tools are now being combined into something that is now called Amazon Codecatalyst. And I think that's what we wanted to talk about today. Now, if you really think about what that is, I think these feature sets of what we just discussed about source code storing, executing workflows, executing actions, all of that kind of stuff is something that you have seen in the industry somewhere else. So what it really is, and that's a slide that I built, it is Amazon's version of GitHub. It's Amazon's version of maybe GitLab, combining some harness capabilities, combining some things from the Atlassian stack. It's an integrated solution, end-to-end solution to cover all parts of your product lifecycle, built by Amazon, integrated within all of the AWS or Amazon services that you have been using in the past and that you want to as well use going forward. Before moving on, I'm going to pause here to see, does this go into the direction of what you wanted to talk about, AJ? And
sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
sorry about that. So moving forward to our another thing that we would like to understand. So would you like us to walk through the key features and benefits of Codecatalyst in development project, real-time development? If a developer is working onto this, what are the real-time key features and benefits that he can gain out of this specific service that is Amazon Codecatalyst?
Yes, let's see. So first I'm going to try to look at, do I have a slide on that? And I think I have something that helps me talk a little bit about that. So the way that Amazon has been selling this tool is, and now we need to watch out, right? there's a marketing aspect and a version of how the tool is placed on the market by AWS. And then there is a perception of Johannes as a DevTools hero using this tool, which is different to what Amazon has been using to actually market this product, right? So I'm going to try to give you both sides. First side is the Amazon one, right? One of the market selling points here is that with Amazon Codecatalyst, the team aims to empower you to accelerate your project startup. With that, we're going to talk a little bit about blueprints later. Also, they mentioned that you can collaborate better in a unified user interface because everything that you have in all parts of your product lifecycle up is part of one specific user interface. And we can look at that a little bit later as well. So you can plan, you can design, you can implement all of your features for your product within one single user interface. You can also automate the setup of the environments. That means of the target environments where you want to deploy your software on. And you can also automate daily workflows. Now, as I mentioned, this is the first Amazon marketing slide, right? There's some more hidden behind that. Here's a second slide that shows kind of the same visualization, right? It really shows you, well, you want to focus on the planning pieces. You want to ensure that you can build and test all of your stuff, and you can see the reports of the tests and reports of the deployment and reports of the build in that single user interface. You can also use this tool to, especially for smaller projects, start planning out and operating on your actual tasks. So you can use it for project management as well. This is kind of the high-level feature map. Now, let's go a little bit into how the user interface looks like, and I hope that I can get this work. So the moment that you log into Codecatalyst, you're going to be presented with something like, I hope that I can get you to that, something like this, which would be showing your so-called spaces. As you can see, I have a few of those. I do have a community builder space and also an AWS hero space. And in that space, you can think of it being kind of an organization. And in that organization, you can have various different projects. Now, below those projects, you can once again have multiple source code repositories. We're going to just try setting up a new project here. So let's have a look on how this could look like. I'm going to jump over to one of my other spaces, which is a little bit emptier. And let's go ahead and create a project. And as you can see, if you want to start in Codecatalyst, you have right now 3 different options. One option is you can start from scratch. This really starts with an empty project. You can bring your own code. This gives you the possibility to link to an existing GitHub repository. Or last but not least, and this is the thing that I wanted to kind of showcase today, you can start off with a blueprint. And this is one of the, from my perspective, most important functionalities that Codecatalyst has today. It is the possibility to start a new project, not from scratch, but start it from a kind of already available level. So it generates some code for you, and it gets you started with a specific level of automation already that you can then build on top of. A very good example to use is always the single page application. This really gives you the possibility to, at the end, after clicking on 2 or 3 buttons, you will be directly having a new website deployed, which runs on CloudFront, which runs on Amplify hosting, I believe, which is already highly available, and you still have a source code repository that has all of those contents. So it really gets you started quickly. Dheeraj, do you think we should do that now, or should we rather talk about the features of the tool as a whole? What's your thought? And you're once again talking mute. At least I cannot hear you.
Okay, so I was saying that I think you can walk through right now. So at the time when you want to discuss any real-time use case or something, at that time you can just showcase that how you can. So is there any specific uh, blueprint which can be provisioned quickly?
Yeah, that's why I said let's try with the single page application.
Yes,
What you will see over here is that you get a description of the project on the right hand side. We can then click on next. In here we can choose now, let's say example project and we can choose the web application framework. I always use Angular because I feel better there. I can then choose whether I want to do build, test, and deploy, or only build and test. I then need to choose an account where I want this to be deployed in. Then I need to have a role. I'm not sure if this will work, but let's try. Then I can set up some additional configurations down here. And the moment that I click on create project, this is now going to bring us into the project view of Codecatalyst. So as you can see, it takes 1 or 2 minutes. And now I'm going to just quickly make sure that this workflow is not executed because I didn't want it to execute. Oh, cool. It has an error, so it's not going to work. That's good. So now we are in the project view of Codecatalyst. So once again, it starts with a space, which is kind of your organization. Then you have multiple projects in here. And then within the project view, you have the possibility, well, starting with issues, you can have a simple Kanban board or a backlog where you can track your work. So let's say over here we want to add my name to my web page, right? This would be a very simple task. And then I can move this task throughout a very simple workflow. And with that, track my development tasks that I need to do. I can also go over here and see some drafts or so-called backlog items as well, which is also integrated in here. Most of the organizations today use something like Jira for these kind of scenarios, right? So the cool thing here is that Codecatalyst gives you the possibility to link a project to a Jira project as well. So you don't need to work in Codecatalyst, but you can also look at a Jira cloud as an alternative. Any questions or thoughts on that first functionality?
So I don't think there is any questions. So guys, if you have any questions in regards to what uh, has been discussed right now, you can put that in the chat, and Johannes would be happy to answer that for you. So I think we can continue at the current moment. I don't see any questions which come in regards to the technicality of the demo that you're giving.
Then let's move on. And in
Yes.
Codecatalyst, then so you can edit those labels. You can edit those issues in the way that you want them. You can add labels, add attachments. You can link to pull requests, which then actually brings us to the second main functionality of Codecatalyst, which is the code section, as you can see on the left-hand side. We have the source code repositories. I already said you can have multiple ones. We just created one, right? This is what was created from Blueprint. And this is the powerful thing of the Blueprint. You don't start from scratch or from zero. You start with a project that already does something that you can actually use to interact with. And this is really cool because as you can see over here, this is a full backed up Angular project that does also include the relevant infrastructure that you need for the deployments, right? So this is really, really cool. Previously, there was also some CDK code being generated for that, which I need to admit I can't find right now. I was about to show that, but you can see over here, well, the different pieces of code that have been generated for you, right? So this is pretty powerful because you don't start from zero. You start with a working project. Within the source code, you can obviously also see commits, you can see branches, and you can also see pull requests if there is any. Let's try that out for a second. So let's create a branch, which hopefully will work pretty easy. Create branch. And I will just call that initial change. I can decide on where I want to start. When starting from that main branch, I will now see over here that I am working on this branch. And now let's just change the README. I can edit this directly here in the user interface, or I can use another possibility that I will show you in just a minute. I can edit this here. I can do a commit just in the same way that you are used to from GitHub or any similar tool, right? And now I can, based on that, create my own pull request. And I know that my presentation is pretty kind of fast, which is okay. I hope that you can get back to us if you have any follow-up questions here. So as you can see, I will now see the differences of the code, right, that I'm trying to push. And it was just a single comment that I made. But now the idea is the moment that I click on create this is also going to start the deployment workflow in an automated fashion. Last but not least, in the code section is something that Amazon has called dev environments. And this is pretty powerful, as it gives you the possibility to either in the browser start a Cloud9 instance, so start your own IDE that will run in the browser, or you can connect your local IDEs with a backend, right? So with a remote IDE at the end, which is really, really cool because it brings up the environment with all of the dependencies and all of the requirements already connected. So you don't need to really think about that. And this is a powerful functionality of Codecatalyst itself. Using the version in the browser also, by the way, allows you to develop on an iPad or something like that. Maybe not as perfect as it should be, but we're going into that direction as well, which makes it easier to skip or to move over from different environments. As I already mentioned, I've been using this tool already with projects of 5 to 10 employees or persons working on it, and all of that pieces really work very, very fluently already right now. Before I move over to CI/CD, any questions? So I can see that there is a question from Akash, if I see that correctly. Yes, this is similar to GitHub. I was talking about that a few minutes ago. You really have the possibility to manage your end-to-end lifecycle in Codecatalyst as it stands.
I guess that was one of the point that you
in
were
the
showing.
CI/CD space.
So I guess that was one of the point that you covered while you were
Go ahead.
driving
Sorry.
us through the website, right? That we can.
Yeah. So we started off with on the PowerPoint at the end, right, where we talked about the main functionalities, and I already mentioned there that
Correct.
GitHub is similar to what Codecatalyst is offering as a service as well. But Codecatalyst has some advantages that GitHub doesn't have, right? So this dev environments thing, as an example, is something that you can get in GitHub using Gitpod, but it doesn't work directly as seamlessly as it is supposed to be here. And obviously also the blueprints are one thing that doesn't exist in GitHub. So if you want to start a new project, Codecatalyst here really has you covered. And then last but not least, we did not really talk about that, but the integrations to AWS services is something that AWS can hopefully do better than others can do, right? So I would want to move over to the workflows and talk a little bit about the functionalities in the workflows. Or do you have any other comments right now?
So at the current moment, I don't see any comments or any questions which needs to be answered. So I think you are good to move ahead with the workflow part.
Okay, then let's go there. So in the workflows, this is really a cool thing. It gives you the possibility to execute all kind of workflows, and the structure and the definition of the workflows is similar to what you all know from a GitHub Actions perspective. And even better, the workflows also integrate with the GitHub Actions. So this means, and you can see it on the right-hand side, here there is the YAML definition of the workflow. The workflow itself is also, and I think we looked at that. We didn't look at that, but I can show you. Within the source code repository, right, there is a .codecatalyst thing, and this .codecatalyst thing has the workflows in it, and here you can also see the workflow definition. I'm going to use the user interface here to edit this workflow. As you can see that there was an error already. Let's try to have a look. So on the left-hand side, we see the visual presentation of the workflow. On the right-hand side, we see the YAML presentation. If I go to edit, I will now see that, well, I can directly seamlessly jump over between visual and YAML, and I can see down here that there's connection name property is not valid, which is an error on my side, actually. What you can also see is that I can integrate existing actions over here with just adding them. Right now, Codecatalyst itself has not much directly integrated actions, but you can do something like deploying a CloudFormation stack, deploying something to ECS, deploying CDK, running S3 publish, or also invoking a Lambda function. But you can also do things like executing a third-party open source security scanning, pushing images to ECR, blah, 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 blah. A lot of possibilities are already there. You can even use an outgoing webhook call if you want to. But then this is very, very powerful. You have the possibility to access GitHub actions as well, right? So you can use all kind of GitHub actions. There's some, these are the ones that we are seeing over here, that are so-called curated, right? So they have already been verified by the Codecatalyst team. Things like superlint, JQ, then pushing Docker images, all of that stuff is things that have been tested and where the Codecatalyst team also knows that they work. And then there's the option to invoke any kind of GitHub action to your workflow. So you can add that to your workflow, and then over here, define which is the GitHub action that you would like to execute over here, right? Just in the same way that you would do that in the GitHub workflow. And I think this is pretty powerful because it really gives you the possibility to directly interact with existing stuff that you have been using before. I can talk ages about workflows and other possibilities that we have over there. I'm gonna still pause here for any questions or comments.
So again, we don't have any questions, and I think Codecatalyst is so new that people are still digesting, the kind of fantastic functionality that we have. I am also doing the same. Uh, you know, it's a fantastic tool, like with visual representation and everything.
Yeah, it is pretty powerful, but
Yeah.
obviously there is also some things that still need to be added, right, to make it more user friendly and even better, right? Let's spend a few more minutes to talk about the pieces of the CI/CD component. As you can see over here, you can also define environments, right? In this example, we only have one development environment. Let me see if I can find a different environment. I think I had one. So there's a blueprint that is pretty powerful. That is the DPRA blueprint. This DPRA blueprint, and please don't be shocked. It brings up something bigger, right? It has a deployment pipeline that deploys out to multiple accounts, starting with a beta account, then to a gamma account, then to a production account, where also multiple regions are involved. Please, please, please don't execute that now, right? But if you have, if you want to understand what happens behind that, please look at the deployment pipeline reference architecture, and maybe we can put in the link later in the show notes as well, or we can also put that here in chat, I believe. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, I can't do that. Maybe you can add that. I can put it here. This is the link for the so-called DPRA. It's the deployment pipeline reference architecture, as you can see. And here are some reference implementations. And the one that we have been just looking at, that pipeline, is really the replication of this pipeline, right? So this project really comes with a lot of structure and a lot of details. It has Java microservices in it, right? And here you should be seeing hopefully all of the 3 different environments. You will then also see where these environments have been used, right? You can define environments as production or non-production environment, and this gives you the possibility to keep track of the changes that you are deploying out into different environments. Pretty powerful. Not where I want it to be yet, right? So I really hope that there's going to be more improvements in that regard, but it's already pretty good. In the compute section over here, you can define, and as you can see, I've not been using that. You can define which is the build that you're going to use to do deployments, right? So where do the compute instances to actually trigger the workflows, where do they reside? Today, they can only be in a public space, but you can use Lambda or EC2, and you can define the size of the EC2 instances. Going forward, I hope that we will also be able to place these worker nodes in our own VPCs that we have in our own accounts, because this allows us to define additional connectivity to our internal things. You can then manage your secrets over here, where you can store secrets that are only relevant for your actual workflows and that are also proprietary for that. And then we can also see the changes that have been pushed to the different environments through the workflow executions. As you can see, I haven't accessed this project for a while, right? This is really just for demo purposes, but let's do a quick check, right? So there is a project that I've been working with, and that should be over here. It's called the Community Builder Speakers Directory, and I hope that here we do have more deployments. Let's see. Then we should be seeing a lot of changes that have been done over here, right? So there's some merges, and down here there was a commit, no deployments found. This is interesting. I'll need to look at why there's no deployments found, but ideally you would now see what the changes are that are being shown over here, right? And then last but not least, the reports functionality, which I believe I don't have anything to share. Let me see if I can find something to share in the report section, where you would actually see unit test results, where you would see the outcomes of security scans and these kind of things, right? You can place all of that. You can see all of that in the reports over here. But I am not finding a good example for that right now. I'm sorry for that. I can try to send that later, but some of the blueprints, here we are, right? So as an example over here, you would see unit test reports, surefire test reports. You can see the results of a secure code analysis, right? And you have different types of reports as well, right? And this is also going to be powerful because you will see all of the results of your own tests kind of in one go. Pretty cool stuff from my perspective. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's not yet kind of ready for prime time, and I hope that the next reInvent is really going to do a lot of changes and help us out over there, right? So what I did a few weeks ago, and Dheeraj, please just stop me if this is not kind of what you want to talk about, right? But let me see, where's my slides? I wanted to show some other stuff here. Okay. So let me show you what I did in July, but it's still applicable, right? When is it good to use Codecatalyst today, and when should you maybe a little bit wait for using it? So what's the use case for Codecatalyst right now? So now I'm lost. Where is my PowerPoint? There we are. Okay, so when is it really ready for use? And as I said, I used it in production already today. You can work very, very well with the dev environments if you want to. This is pretty powerful. You can directly get started with that. This is not what I wanted. You can really use the blueprints, and they are awesome, right? So you can do a lot with the blueprints and get started with your project pretty quickly. And I can give you some more hints on where this is going, hopefully going forward. We also then have the build components. So all of the workflows, they work fantastically. I don't know why this thing is always moving over. Anyway, then on a scale, like on the right-hand side, everything is perfectly ready to use. Don't touch it yet. On the left-hand side, in the middle, we have all of the deployment. Why do I have the deployment there? As this is a server that comes from Amazon, I was really expecting to have a seamless integration with the console. Today, there is a good possibility already using CDK, but also using CloudFormation, where you can then see the results of the CloudFormation execution within Codecatalyst itself. And I cannot show that. I didn't prepare for that, right? But you can look at it yourself. If you do a CDK-based deployment or a CloudFormation-based deployment to any of your accounts, you will actually see which resources have been created through CloudFormation. So this is really cool. And I believe that here the team can do way better than they are today, right? They can really level up our experience of having an integrated view into what happens based on a code commit, what happens in your AWS environment at the end, right? Because that's what we're, as developers, interested in. What doesn't work well today is migrating into Codecatalyst. So I talked a little bit about that. It doesn't make sense right now really to migrate into it. You can use the GitHub integration. Yes, you can use the Jira integration. But if you have a lot of existing projects, going into it is going to be a little bit difficult, as there is no migration process for workflows and things like that. So that's something that I hope will be improving. Enterprise, we don't have single sign-on support. Because we don't have single sign-on support, I think that there is no possibility to use this in enterprise world, as everyone would need to have its own builder ID did not cover that, right? But Codecatalyst does not live within the AWS console. It lives outside the console, which is a good and a bad thing. And then last but not least, you can also not use it for open source because there is no version, no possibility to show your code to anyone that is not part of your project today. So that's that slide that I wanted to at least talk about a little bit. And I can see a lot of the things that I'm asking for coming pretty soon, hopefully, right? So I hope that there's really some stuff that the team is working on that will make this really even easier to use going forward. Yeah, I have more things to discuss or to show. Before I go ahead, what other questions? Because we are already at 50 minutes, I believe, right? So
37 minutes.
37. Cool. So what other questions did you prepare for today?
Okay, so my next question was right now we had an overview that how we can use the Code Catalyst console, what are the basic features and benefits from that perspective. But do you want to discuss any use case of some customer uh, who has leveraged this specific Amazon Code Catalyst service and brought a lot of value out of it?
So I don't work for Amazon, so I don't know which customers are using it, but I can tell you where I've been using it with a lot of team members as well. So we created a project a few months ago that we call the Community Builder Speakers Directory, where we expect or we hope to get all of the AWS, all of the speakers of the community to sign up going forward. So user group leaders have it easier to find their own find speakers for their user group, right? So that's kind of the background of the project. And in that project, I think we have about 6 or 7 collaborators that have been using Codecatalyst since we started the project. At first, I needed to convince them, but now everyone seems to be used to using it, right? And this is a great opportunity to really try out this tool in a real project, and in order to give feedback or better feedback to the Codecatalyst team, but also, of course, to gain experiences, right? I couldn't talk to you about this tool if I would not use it, right? So I would say the best customer is myself right now, right? That I can give you, and the other team members that I have on that we have on that project. Right? And for us, it is really cool because we are in different time zones. We need to collaborate through tickets. We need to see what we do in an integrated way. There were days in that project where we had 10 commits or 10 merges to main per day because we just had so much things going on at the same time, right? As this started off with a hackathon. And here really Codecatalyst and having all of that integrated made it easy for us to get that project started, right? And we deploy multiple sandbox and development environments and one production environment out of this tool, which is pretty fantastic, actually.
Okay. So I think you have something else to cover, as you were saying that you have more data that you want to present. But apart from that, is there any security perspective that you want to talk about how this tool is taking care of security in terms of collaboration, in terms of the thing that it is doing at the current moment, like CI/CD or any testing aspect that I think we missed the testing aspect of this CI/CD pipeline or the
Mhm.
workflow, that how it
Yeah.
can be tested.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to answer, right? So especially the testing and the security pieces of a project always is influenced a lot by the contents of the project and about what this kind of is really doing, right? So there is no one and only solution. Let's first start off with the security aspect of Codecatalyst, right? Security aspect. This is a managed service. It's a tool where you don't need to control the security. So you, as a user, are giving over some responsibility to AWS to manage your built infrastructure, to bring up the built instances that you need, to ensure that you can do whatever you want to do, right? And you need to trust AWS that what they built is secure. but it takes away a lot of burden. You don't need to make sure that you upgrade your Jenkins instance. You don't need to make sure that the worker nodes have the latest security images installed and these kind of stuff, right? That's all benefit that you give over to the Codecatalyst team at the end to take care of. As I already mentioned, as today, you can only use the Amazon Builder ID to log into the tool. You cannot really use it in an enterprise world because the Builder ID is something personal for a specific user. There is no possibility right now to integrate with single sign-on or existing LDAP directories or something like that. So this is really a highly anticipated feature by a lot of people that I've talked with about this tool. Now going back to your question around testing and security testing as well, right? This, as I said, depends on your project. It depends on the pipeline. Now, where can Amazon Codecatalyst potentially help you to be better at that? Let me show you one slide that I presented at the AWS Community Day in Germany like 2 weeks ago. Let me see. And this is a little bit out of context, so I hope that it makes sense to show that, but I believe that we can make a good conversation out of it. So this is not what I wanted to show. Come on, where is my PowerPoint? I will find it. So here we are. Usually if you start a project, this is the red line, you never invest into your CI/CD pipeline. You never invest into automation because you think this is something I can do later. So you slowly start your project with a project automation and you add some stuff. And then you get to the release date because there's so much features that you as a developer need to deliver. So then after the release date, you notice, oh my gosh, I can't deploy quickly enough. I can't do defect fixes quickly enough. The quality of code that we pass through our pipeline is really, really bad. And we missed security scans and we missed automation and blah, blah, blah. So you invest a lot into it until you reach a certain point. What I've been talking about is let's change the way that we look at automation. Let's start investing into automation at the start of the project to give us a level of confidence. Because I believe that we should start development projects going forward always with a very good or perfect I'm sorry for that, a perfect pipeline in mind, right? Because that will later help us as developers to be quicker in fixing bugs or defects and in delivering more features as well. Now, if you need to start a project from scratch, this is how I would like you to start, right? Start investing in automation first. Now, Codecatalyst with the blueprint has the potential, and I know that we are not there with the tool itself, but it has the potential to get you started not from zero, but get you started with 50%. Because the moment that you click create a project for a blueprint, or the moment that you reuse an existing pipeline, you will already have automation, which has a certain level. The better this level of standard and default workflow is, the easier. And that's where I think that Codecatalyst can also help you today, right? It can really help you to get started your automation journey, not on a level 0, but maybe on a level like 20% of where you want to be. And this is the point that I wanted to make around this topic, which I believe is pretty impactful as well, right? So here, the blueprints are your friend in Codecatalyst. And I hope that makes sense to you.
Yes, that is relevant to what exactly we were talking about. Thank you for bringing that up. So in this console that you are showing right now, is there any option where we can, check the testing part from the CI/CD perspective, or no?
Well, this is test reports at the end, right? So if we go back to the workflow, because I think this is the workflow that has been run. As I said, this project has been run 7 months ago, but I think the reports should still be valid. Yeah, you will see that over here, the workflow starts with running a secret code analysis, and then you can also see the corresponding report, and you can see that there was one vulnerability found the last time that this was executed, right? So let's have a look. Here you will then see secret code analysis. There's a finding, right? The Docker file has an issue, right? And the issue is that there is a health check missing. And obviously, also, if you then look at the unit testing, I think that should be, I aborted that. Let me see. I'm not sure if I will see reports for unit tests here, but let's try. Over here, you can see the integrated unit test reports as well, right? So a test report showing 100% pass rate is always good, right? So you can directly see how many tests or which tests have been executed as part of this step, right? So if we click on that report, you will now see, maybe bad example, but anyway, right? There's one test suite. There's one test case that is called get all, and this has been executed over here. And I can even see the log files for the test report if I'm interested in it, right? So there is integration from a testing perspective, and you can then also decide based on the reports, like if you want to pass or fail the corresponding pipeline, right, after the test results have been evaluated.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So thank you for that. So I think that has been covered. So apart from this, I think in the slide you were talking about something and you said that you want to cover later. So would you like to take that?
Yeah, I took that when talking about that level of automation, right, at
Oh,
the end.
fantastic.
I think we covered that piece that I had in mind, at least.
Okay. So last question that we would like to ask. So as you have done a lot of POC onto this specific tool, that is not tool, the service, that is Amazon Codecatalyst. So is there any best practices or guidelines that you want to give for the newcomers or the people who are going to use it for the first time? So they should know that what they are expecting, and what should be how they should move ahead if they are new to this specific service.
Yes, so I think you need to gain experiences with it. So what I would advise you to do is start off with creating yourself one space. You can do that if you go to the main overview over here, and then there is a create space button. Just do that. Once you have gone through creating that space, start off with a blueprint, something that you're interested in. So I use this also very much to learn. Personally, I didn't do anything with glue, right? I never did anything with glue. So I used this blueprint to learn about how glue works at the end, about what the possibilities are. And I used this blueprint to then understand what the architecture overview is of a glue pipeline. So this one at the end uses CDK to create an infrastructure, which is then using glue to convert CSV input into something else, right? And this helped me on one side to understand what are the components of the tool, but on the other side also learn something about glue and see how this actually is in action, how I would deploy that. You can then use this sample code that you see over here to get yourself started. So think of the use case that you would like to solve with your project, right? You can, and I will just show another blueprint option here, right? There is I think it's this one, right? Yeah, so it's this one, this to-do web application. This at the end has an API gateway, a DynamoDB, and a Lambda. If you want to start a serverless project, this thing has everything that you need to get you started, right? There's no GraphQL, but there's an API gateway. So with that, you can directly get started with your project and just try that out, right? You can then build on top of that, and you can modify that to do whatever you want. But you still you have a foundation of getting yourself started. So you can use this blueprint to understand how to build up this architecture, but how to build this architecture in CDK, right? Because this is something where you as a developer can actually grow. I am personally using these blueprints in Codecatalyst to teach middle school, so 10 to 12 years students right now, right, about how to learn coding. Why? Because having some sample code that they can read is better than trying to teach them the theory behind all of that, right? And that's really where I think that the blueprints can do a lot of can influence a lot of changes here in the way that we also look at developing software or learning on how to develop software, right? if you're up for starting your own blog, right? Then we have over here the static website blueprint. This one gives you the possibility to host your own, I think it's Jekyll or Hugo blog at the end, right? So you can choose a static site generator, which is Hugo or Jekyll. These are open source tools. You can then add the workflow, and then you can get yourself directly started. And you have your own blog, right? Which actually also gives you a URL that is highly available, that is scalable, that is accessible from everywhere. It might not have your custom domain yet, but at least you have something that you can start with and you can practice with. That would be my encouragement for people that really want to start using Codecatalyst. Search for one of the blueprints that fit your need and build on top of that one to start your first project.
So thank you for covering that aspect. So I think you have actually covered a very important point, Johannes, where what I have seen as per my experience, suppose if somebody wants to start with AWS CDK. So now to start with AWS CDK, a person should have Node.js installed. He will install an npm. Then if he is doing in Python, he will create a virtual environment. Then in virtual environment, he will go ahead and do the code. Then understand what are the basic constructs. So the learning curves increases over here. But right now, the idea that you have given in terms of blueprint that reduces the learning curve, and once people start implementing it, they start getting the interest that yeah, it is creating some value out of it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're totally on spot, and I think that's a good thing to talk about, right? Let me just show you. So I think I have a dev environment somewhere. Let me see, because some friction that developers sometimes have is really how do I get myself started? How do I set up my environment? The dev environment takes that away. So
So
that
there
is
is a
kind of
question for you. Sorry to disturb you.
go
As you
ahead.
intimated that if there is any question, I have to bring that up. So the question for you is, can we use Amazon Code Catalyst to set up monitoring and notification?
Good question. The question is, what do you want to monitor? So, Vishal, if you have some additional remarks on that question, that would be helpful. So
So let's
ideally,
take an example of infrastructure monitoring that he's asking about.
infrastructure monitoring, you need to implement that at the moment yourself in your infrastructure as code, right? And because Amazon, because Codecatalyst doesn't really have an insights into your infrastructure just now, right? So you will need to integrate that somehow. You can, however, send notifications out of workflows to Slack today, as far as I remember, right? So you can make workflows send notifications to a Slack channel or something like that, or also send an email. And there's other possible integration options as well. You bring up a good point. It would be cool if Codecatalyst would help you to monitor your infrastructure as well as part of the deployments that you do, right? Obviously, you can do that by adding health check to your infrastructure as code, but it would be good if Codecatalyst would empower you to do that even better than it does today.
So right now, the way Code Catalyst is doing, creating resources onto AWS or the entire automation flow that we want to create. So in that scenario, if something is failing, uh, for example, suppose if my pipeline is failing, so this is the same console where we have to look for logs, or we have to go to CloudWatch where based on the specific service, the log will be passed over there where we need to check in terms of troubleshooting, or this console itself covers it.
The console shows you that output here as well. Let me see if I can show you that for a second. While we do that, I'm going to start this dev environment over here. So maybe we have a minute to actually show how that looks like while this boots up then at the end. I believe that this one down here has a recent run, which I recently executed. And this one has hopefully a deployment for the backend, which will then show us here, as you can see over here, Here's the stack net that has been deployed. 11 resources have been deployed. 11 have been changed. I can even see the logical IDs, and I can see the configuration status of accordingly that one, right? So you will see over here what kind of resources have been created as part of this deployment, right? You can then also see which are the created resource or changed resources as part of this deployment. This is pretty cool, right? And I personally really hope that this is going to be even more powerful going forward, right? So if there is a deployment issue, I would like to directly be pointed at that and then be able to fix that in AWS console at the end. What we get today is really a link, and I cannot log into that account right now, but a link into this one, right, into CloudFormation, where I will see the infrastructure as code output. And what I can also get here is for a front end here, there is an output variable, I believe, right? An endpoint URL. This output variable then gives me the possibility to click on this one, where I will now see this application actually running, right? Which has been deployed through this workflow. And this is what I meant with I get a new URL easily, right? This is what this actually is at the end.
That's fantastic.
So
Thank you
now
for explaining that in detail.
now
Really appreciate that.
we should see our Cloud9 instance, right? So as you maybe saw, I went
Yeah.
into dev environments here in code, right? Dev environments, I clicked create a dev environment. It took 1 or 2 minutes, and now I have my own IDE running in the cloud. And this IDE comes configured to be able to execute unit tests, to be able to do deployment and pushes and commits to my source code repository, which, by the way, has been checked out for me over here, right? So this is pretty cool from my perspective, and really, I don't need to download Visual Studio Code or Cloud9 or IntelliJ or something to get myself started. I can get started in the browser over here and do my changes, right? Do my fixes, commit them, and get them deployed automatically. And I think that this also lowers the bar for developers to get actually started.
That's fantastic. Thank you for the detailed explanation. I think that answers Vishal's query as well as my query in terms of monitoring or logging that comes into picture with this. So thank you so much for that. So I don't have any further questions. So do you have anything else to add, or we are good to conclude our session for today?
I have always things to add. So if you have any questions for me afterwards, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on kind of any social platform, mainly using LinkedIn under my Johannes Koch name. And if you have any other things that you would like to learn about Codecatalyst, let me know. I do also run a YouTube channel, just as you do. Mine is really focused on CI/CD and Codecatalyst. So maybe we can drop that in the chat as well. So if anyone is interested to hear more content from builders for builders, right? So I don't do any high-level stuff. I really get people to talk to me about their experiences and about what they actually do. Then please feel free to subscribe. And yeah, also there, if you have a specific topic related to CI/CD or related to Codecatalyst that you would like me to get on the show, right, or record it, let me know, right? I'm learning every day, and really look forward to help all of you also to level up your experience.
Thank you so much. So I have actually added your LinkedIn profile into the chat, so people who are interested to have who have more questions in regards to Code Catalyst, you can reach out. So based on the discussion that we have, it's actually crystal clear that you are doing a lot of POCs, exploring this Code Catalyst to its depth, and trying to bring out value out of it and share it with a wider audience. So that's really kind of you.
And I think here one thing to note, right? This is a new service. It has been announced like a year ago.
Mhm.
If there's something you don't like or something that you're missing, and you don't find the give feedback button, or you don't find anyone to send this feedback to, send it to me. I regularly give feedback to the product team as well, right? So if there's something that really goes on your nerve, send me an email or send me a LinkedIn message, right? And then I will forward that to the team so they can improve that and make that better and make it more usable for you. Simple example. If you push something to Bitbucket from your command line, you get the feedback, here you can open a pull request, or this is an existing pull request. This is nice and handy because I always use that, right? I get a URL back that I can just open. Codecatalyst doesn't have that. I really want to get that. And I hope that this is the small things that kind of go on my personal developer experience that you might also have. And please keep that feedback coming to me or to the team, right? So they can improve on that, because I think this tool has a great way ahead. But we need to make sure that we give the right feedback to the team. Otherwise, they
Yes.
can't improve.
Yep. So guys, if you have any feedbacks, I think you should be open to share that, because see, every service which comes. So take an example of ChatGPT. The ChatGPT is here because ChatGPT has taken a lot of feedbacks from you guys itself while you are performing a search, and it has, upgraded itself in terms of what exactly a human is looking for. The same way, uh, the same example is here. It is a new service. If you want it to be enhanced more based on the ease of the usage, don't forget to drop suggestions about how it can be improved based on your user experiences. So that's a really good initiative uh, if you guys want to take it. So I think then we are good for today. So Johannes, once again, thank you. So guys, he is running his YouTube channel. I have added the link in the chat. So if you're interested to specifically focus on one niche, that is CI/CD and Code Catalyst, so this is the right guy for you. Don't forget to follow his channel and view his video where he is going to share his fantastic POCs that he's doing every now and then about Code Catalyst. Or maybe in next reinvent or some reinvent, he might be presenting that on the stage itself, that he has come up with a fantastic POC, and you might witness him live on reinvent uh, live, or if you are there physically. So thank you, Johannes. Thank you for joining the session. Thank you, guys. uh,
Thank you for having me.
yeah,
Thank you, everyone, for watching as well.
thank you. Bye bye, guys. Have a great day ahead.